Hello my fellow weirdos, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to be doing my 5 favourite Stephen King movie adaptations. This is going to be controversial because, well, let's face it, the man is a prolific writer. And because he's a prolific writer and he's such a popular writer, he's like big bucks. He's got the big bucks. If you put his name on a poster or on a TV show or whatever, it's going to make a ton of money, going to get a load of views. So there have been a lot of Stephen King movie and TV show adaptations. So there is a lot to choose from. These are my personal 5 at the moment, because I know there are more coming out every day. For example, Lissy's Story is coming out on, I think it's Apple TV very soon, starring the very gorgeous Julianne Moore. I can't watch half of these because I can't afford all this. Like, there's too many subscription services now. I don't know how you're supposed to afford so many gosh darn subscription services. But yeah, the ones that I have seen, I'm going to create my list. I'm sure everyone has a different opinion from me, and that's fine. It's fine. Don't come at me, okay? All right. So, in no particular order, we're going to start off with the ever-fabulous Misery, which is 1990, starring James Caan and Kathy Bates. If you're unfamiliar with the story, it is about an author, played by James Caan, who has a terrible car accident, and luckily he gets found by a woman who's a nurse. Brilliant, right? She gets him home, patches him up, you know, happy days. She's also his biggest fan, loves his books. So this is like the ideal situation, right? She is a little unstable. And when she finds out that he's going to kill off the main character, her favorite character from the book, she goes a little crazy. And it's basically about him being trapped with her, because after the accident he's hardly in a fit state to be running away, but she makes sure, boy does she make sure he won't be running away anytime soon. That particular scene, you'll know what I mean if you've seen it. Kathy Bates gives an incredible performance. She is terrifying in that movie. And what I love about it is it's one of Stephen King's books which doesn't involve anything paranormal or monsters or anything. This is purely just one crazy person and the terror that they cause. No paranormal activity necessary. I definitely recommend it. It holds a special place in my heart because that was the first Stephen King book I ever read, was Misery. So, yes. Next up, we have, fairly obvious, it's going to be on here. It's The Shining, 1980 Stanley Kubrick movie starring Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall. I mean, I know that King himself wasn't a huge fan of this movie. And having read the book, I understand his issues with it, because it does portray Jack in a particularly unsympathetic light in the movie, whereas in the book he has redeemable qualities and he does make attempts to try to rectify the situation and kind of exonerate himself to a certain extent. Whereas in Jack Nicholson, the movie is just a bit of a horrible jerk who doesn't seem that bothered about murdering his own family. So yes, but let's face it, this film changed the face of modern horror forever. I mean, Kubrick, for all of his flaws, is damn good at what he does. You know, it's unnerving. It's incredibly tense. I think, yes, it makes a lot of changes and takes a lot of liberties with the book, but it does do it in a way that means that the film comes out really, I don't know how to say this. It's scarier. It's scarier. Because in this movie world, the people who survived might not. The things that happened, which you feel safe and secure about, may not happen. He creates this wonderful building tension, particularly using the soundtrack. And it's just such an unnerving movie. It's incredible. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's legendary for a reason. I get where you're coming from, Stephen. I do, but I love it. I'm sorry, I love it. On that note, my next on the list is going to be 2019's Doctor Sleep. I freaking loved that adaptation. I really did. I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Again, it's had to take a lot of liberties when it comes to the book, because Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is The Shining to everybody. That is The Shining, even though it's not entirely true to the source material. So whenever you had the writers and directors coming up with Doctor Sleep, they had this sort of difficult tightrope to walk where they want to be true to the book, but at the same time be true to the Stanley Kubrick movie and make it a direct sequel to that movie, without kind of treading on the book. And they did it perfectly. Everything about this film, everything. Like the casting of Ewan McGregor and Rebecca Ferguson, fantastic. The everything, the cinematography, the acting, the script, the directing, the sets, everything. It's perfect. I loved it. And what they did was they very cleverly took an already pretty brutal book and they made it 10 times more brutal. Like, people who do not die in the book, everybody dies. Everybody dies in this. And not in nice ways. And they went into a lot of detail about what happens to one of the children in particular. And they managed to make a genuinely scary, horrible movie, horrible in a good way, that would leave anybody like wanting to put the lights on at the end of the night. It's a great film, great performances, and I think they did a fantastic job of linking together the book and the Stanley Kubrick movie. Okay, next we have 1976's Carrie, starring Sissy Spacek? I think it is. Which, again, if you're not familiar, is a teenage girl who develops telekinetic powers and kind of inevitably ends up using them on her classmates, who are very horrible to her, by the way. I haven't seen the new Carrie, and I really didn't have much of an urge to do it, to be honest, because I really think that the original hit the nail on the head so well. I think it just got the book perfectly, and Sissy's performance is fantastic. Like you watch that and you really, really feel for what that poor girl is going through. You know, she gives a really amazing performance as this naive, innocent, helpless, lonely young girl. And to be fair, her mum, who plays the mum? Piper Laurie. Another fantastic performance. Like, she's a bitch. She's a horrible bitch in that film. So it's another example of where you've got, you know, fantastic performances. You've got a script that does like represent the book very well. You've got like everything, you know, background wise, your sets, your other key players in the movie, like the bullies and everything. Everybody just lines up, good directing, good screenplay, and it all just comes together to make this classic movie, which no matter how old it gets and how long it's been, is never going to go out of style. I'm sure Chloe Moretz did a really good job in the new one. She's a fantastic actress. I really like her as an actress. But honestly, I just didn't. It was just one of those films where I just don't think you needed to remake it. I think that they nailed it so perfectly with Carrie. I don't see the point. It would be like if they remade The Shining. I just don't think it's going to go well. So don't. I don't mind them remaking a movie or a show of Stephen King adaptation when maybe the original wasn't done to the best for budget reasons, or if it was made on TV rather than a movie or whatever. Sometimes a remake is warranted, and I'm going to talk about that next, but I don't think it was warranted with Carrie. I don't think it's warranted with The Shining. I definitely don't think it'll ever be warranted with Doctor Sleep. I just think sometimes when you nail it so right the first time, stop. Lastly, I want to talk about It, Chapter 1, the 2017 version. starring Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise the clown. Now, I know everybody has a special place in their heart for the original starring Tim Curry. Tim Curry is a legend. And that man played such a huge part in my childhood between all the films that he was in. He is fabulous. And I loved him as Pennywise. And I did love that original, like, two-parter. It's nostalgic for me. You know, it's like one of my first sort of forays into the world of Stephen King as a kid. But even as a child, when I watched that, and I was very young when I watched that, I didn't find it even slightly unnerving or scary, or it just didn't bother me at all. And I think that's, like, part of it's due to some decisions to include things from the book that maybe could have been cut out. At the end of the day, Stephen King writes big books, and he can obviously include a lot more in the books than he can in a movie adaptation or a TV show adaptation. There's just not enough screen time in the world, unless you're doing like a 10 1-hour long episode sort of series type thing. And they included a lot of like characters and things which are inevitably cut from this new version, and I think the cuts made sense. They also didn't have the biggest budget, and that spider at the end, it just didn't, you know, it just didn't do anything for me. Like, I don't like clowns, and I love Tim Curry as Pennywise, but I kind of was like, I found it kind of more lovable and like it in a nostalgic way, but I never found it scary. I think that the new adaptation of It did a really good job of making Pennywise scary, and Bill Skarsgård is brilliant as him. He is so creepy. The thing with the eye, and he's scary. I think that they managed to cut it down really well to keep the primary points of the book in place, the primary storyline points and messages, and hit all the points along that you need to hit, but not drawing you in too much information. I think that some of the changes they made, yeah, it just all made sense. I think they also cast brilliantly. Those kids are all really, really good in their individual parts. They fit the character that they're playing so well. They do a fantastic job. And it must be very difficult at such a young age to do that. I can't even imagine. And they were just as good as any actor or actress, you know, decades longer in the industry than they were. They did a really, really great job of putting it all on screen. Plus the special effects and the money and the makeup and everything just amped it all up. Like, that version of Pennywise, oh my god. Like, if you saw Tim Curry's Pennywise and Bill Skarsgård, like, I know which one I would be creeped out by more. Although I suppose seeing a random clown in your garden in the dark alleyway or something is going to be unnerving regardless. But I just think that they just kicked it up a gear, and I found it like genuinely an unnerving watch. I find it scary, and that's why I liked it, because at the end of the day, when we watch a horror movie or read a horror book, isn't that what we all want? We want to be scared. We want to be creeped out. We want to be like, I'm just going to leave this whole light on at the end of the evening when we go to bed. Why? I don't know. We've probably got some kind of deficiency. But yeah, that's my top 5 anyway. You can come at me. Okay? You can come at me. I'm not saying there are not lots of other amazing Stephen King adaptations, because there are. I'm just saying that these are my personal top 5. You can let me know your top 5 down below. And I'm not going to argue with you about it. But you can let me know your thoughts down below about my list and what you would have included and what you would have done differently. Don't forget to subscribe, like, do all that jazz so that we can connect. And that's me for now, guys. Bye.